This week on World Traveler Cooking, Lebkuchen. To many people, nothing says German Christmas more than Lebkuchen. Of course, you have Stollen and you have Marzipan Kartoffeln. Might do the latter one next year. But Lebkuchen are sort of, the cookie that is associated with Christmas. There are various different kinds of it. For example, you see Prinzen in Aachen and Prinzen. You'll see hard gingerbread, you'll see soft gingerbread, but these are always sort of a gingerbread or a spice and citrus cookie associated with Christmas. The name means sort of cookie of life, if you will, and obviously that fits into this Christmas symbolism quite well. So we have a lot of ingredients today, and I'm going to say that this I don't think is a terribly difficult dish to make, but it takes a lot of ingredients, so this is a great case where mise en place will make a lot of things much easier for you. So if you prepare most everything ahead of time, then it'll become a lot easier. Unfortunately, I have so many ingredients that I ran out of some of the mise en place dishes, and so I'm going to have to measure a couple of things after I've done more. So, what do we have? We have 250 grams of flour, 2 eggs, we have 125 grams of sugar, and I decided that since a lot of gingerbread kinds of things work really well with like a brown sugar, that I'd go ahead and use a fully raw sugar in this case. So this is just dried cane syrup today. Again, easier on the blood sugar, but it should also be richer in flavor. And I think the flavor is going to go really well with the rest of this. I have a zest of 2 lemons and 1 orange. And as far as I can tell, a lot of people actually use like a ground dried orange peel and lemon peel for this, but failing that, I'm going to add more nut flour and use fresh zest. I have 1 tablespoon of baking powder. I have 200 grams of ground hazelnuts and 100 grams of walnuts. You could probably do it all with just hazelnuts or just walnuts. No, sorry, with just hazelnuts or just almonds. Like one thing with almonds is, especially if you're in the US and you're dealing with California almonds and the water crisis, maybe people are less interested in using almonds in those cases. So go ahead and use hazelnuts. So I've gone through those. Then we have our main spices. We'll have cinnamon, we have cocoa, and we have clove. We have 75 grams of butter. And then we have these little wafers here that you can use as a base of a cookie. They're pretty common in Germany. If you can't find them, you could probably even just get some really, really thin ginger snaps and use them. That'd probably be just fine. But this is what they use here. And basically these are a very thin cracker made out of wheat flour and starch. And then you can build the cookie on top of it so that you actually have a base, especially if it's a chewy cookie. And then for the glaze, let me grab that. See, you can see I don't do so many multiple takes, but for the glaze, you can choose one of the Couvertures. In this case, we have dark chocolate Couverture and we have milk chocolate Couverture. Couverture is a kind of chocolate that's higher in cocoa butter than most other chocolates. And the major reason to use it is that it makes really nice glazes. So some people also just do like powdered sugar icing on them, but I figure we'll try some with each of these. So as much as the ingredients are really complicated, the method is really simple. So let's go ahead and get started. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to work the butter into the sugar with my hands and kind of get something of a sort of a consistency out of it. Then I'm going to cream this together with the eggs. You could cream the eggs and sugar together and then add the butter. That would also work. But you can see here we get a consistent mass out of this, and now we're just going to add the eggs, but I'm going to watch. So now I'm just going to cream these together here. Remember, the egg's an emulsifier. Remember, the egg's an emulsifier, so it will absorb the butter. I'm going to add my spices, and that'll include the orange zest, and I will do this again. Next, we're going to mix in our milk. And we're going to do the milk next because otherwise it's going to get difficult to work with. Then our nuts. And the difference in color you see there is because I had some almond flour that was blanched from the tarte normande. Alright, and then I'm going to add my baking powder to the flour and I'm going to dump and mix that in. See, as I say, the prep is everything with this dish. The actual making is not so hard. And already we have our Lebkuchen dough. So next we have our oven preheated to 150 Celsius. That's about 300 Fahrenheit. And now we're going to go ahead and lay out our cookies. So these are basically, oh, I have two there. They feel kind of funny. They feel like almost like little pieces of paper or plastic, but they're just made from starch and wheat flour, and so they're going to be the base for the cookie. I'm not quite sure what to do if you can't get them. If you can't get them, I guess you could try leaving them out, but I'm afraid they might stick to the baking paper. Or you could try putting them on like another kind of cookie, like maybe like a really thin gingerbread cookie. So these wafers here are, they're kind of funny. They feel very much like paper or plastic, and when you look at them, they almost look like styrofoam. But in fact, they're made out of just wheat flour and starch. And so we're going to take a spoon full of batter, and then we're going to take a knife, we're going to dip it in water to make it work better, and we're going to smooth it out. And I'm going to do this with all the cookies, and then I will be back. So I have all these set up. I'm a little worried about the wafers getting a little bit close to each other and the cookies overfilling, but I'll throw these in the oven for 10 minutes and then we'll be back and see how they are. So now these have come out of the oven after 10 minutes. They're still quite warm. And at this point we can glaze them. So sometimes people do just like a icing sugar glaze, or they'll do a chocolate glaze. So I'm melting some of the Couverture, which is the chocolate for glazing, and then we'll go ahead and do a quick glaze and a taste test. Now to glaze them, I'm just going to take a knife and I'm going to take some of this Couverture and I'm just going to spread it over the top. Again, Couverture is basically a chocolate which is higher in cocoa butter. So it leads to a smoother finish and it's used usually for glazing. I'll do this to all of them and then we'll come back for a taste test. So now for the taste test. I've let these cool a bit. Partly because if you eat them straight out of the oven, they're still a little doughy inside. The glaze has not fully set yet, but that's all right. So the flavors here are multi-layered and complex. The citrus from the citrus peel comes through very well. The texture is definitely determined by the nuts. That's a good thing. The texture is pretty close to what I would expect from this kind of cookie. And the flavors, the spices, everything really works very well with the chocolate. So this is delicious. Now, if you find this content interesting, I hope I've earned a like and a subscription from you, and please click the notification bell so that you can be notified when I do a new video. And, you know, if there's anything you would do differently with this kind of recipe, please mention that in the comments. I love to see those sorts of treating of techniques. It makes me happy, and it even adds value to anybody else who's reading, who comes here looking for how to cook it. So I love that kind of content. At any rate, recipes in the description. Bon appetit. See you next week, and check out my Patreon page where you can see pre-release versions of many of my videos.